Alright guys, Revolve Wrestler, and I'm here with my quarterly video on the channel. Yeah, I'm here, and I'm going to be reviewing WrestleMania 38, Night 1. I know it's a bit late on Sunday to do this, but with the pay-per-view, with Night 2 coming up in a couple of hours, I really wanted to get Night 1 up, because I'm definitely going to be doing Night 2. Night 1 was a show that, like, you know, I was considering reviewing WrestleMania this year, and, you know, I always have time off around WrestleMania season, and if there was anything on the show worth talking about, I was going to do a video on it, and thankfully there was something, or plenty of things, to be honest, worth talking about, so I'm going to review it. I haven't seen all of TakeOver Stand and Deliver. The idea of putting it on the same day as Mania, or the first night of Mania in this case, I'm not a big fan of. I wish it was just the previous night, or even the previous 2 nights, or whatever. So I haven't seen all of it. I've seen most of it. I haven't seen the main event, and I haven't seen the tag titles match, the Triple Threat tag titles match. But I've seen everything else. So maybe as like a little special episode, I will review that on Tuesday or late on Monday. But for now, I'm not prepared, really. I've got a United top on. That's just what I've been wearing today. I've got my Squid Game guard next to me, just because he came this week, or, well, the other day. And I'm going to be reviewing WrestleMania 38 Night 1. This year's Mania... Oh, and I've also got a bottle of Lucozade, because I need it. Because I'm tired. It's been a long few days. WrestleMania 38, build-wise, hasn't been brilliant. I think everybody said this. But across both nights, there are some matches that can be great. And overall, the show was pretty good. So let's get straight into it. The pre-show was 2 hours long, and it just had a bunch of video packages. Didn't have any matches. It was a waste of time. So while the pre-show was on, I just watched a bit more of Stand and Deliver, just to kind of, so I was as up to date as possible. I've had a busy weekend as well, so trying to fit in an NXT show at, you know, for us, something like 6 o'clock is quite hard. You know, 6 o'clock's the time when people have dinner and they're, you know, doing things. So, yeah, it's kind of hard. But, you know, so the 2-hour pre-show of Mania was nothing, and we kicked off WrestleMania with, of course, God Save the Queen. I would tell you, God Save the Queen? America the Beautiful. I don't know where that came from. America the Beautiful, I can't remember who sung it, I'm very sorry. And then we had our opening contest, which was the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Rick Boogs, who played his guitar down to the ring with Nakamura, and Shinsuke Nakamura versus the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Shinsuke Nakamura, yep, so this is his 3rd WrestleMania match, and he's never won one. Fascinating. Just a little thing. And the last WrestleMania match he had was at WrestleMania 35. I like just picking up on these little factoids throughout the show, and you know, I'm quite analytical with wrestling, so I like, it's Nakamura's 3rd Mania match. He's never won one. Like, I'm very odd with that sort of stuff. So yeah, his last match at Mania was at 35, where his tag team partner was the current Miro, Rusev. So, yeah, little cool thing. Rick Boogs, you know, I think he's alright. I like his energy. I don't think he's brilliant, but I like his energy. I like his, you know, he is certainly not a boring wrestler. And Usos are great. Unfortunately, this match was hampered by a big injury, you know, that really just cut the match in half, I'd assume, to be honest. But let's talk about what happened before that. There was, you know, some good stuff from Boogs and Nakamura came out of the gate with a flying kick to one of the Usos, and then the Usos grounded Nakamura, and Boogs was obviously going in for the hot tag. Boogs eventually got the hot tag, and he unfortunately ended up, in the end, tearing his patella, which is on his right quad, I believe. It was his right quad. He had one of the Usos up for like a Samoan drop. The other Uso jumped on his back as well, and his quad just gave out. Now, initially, when I first saw it, I thought it was part of the match, and, you know, that was Boogs kind of going out of the match, and eventually he would make a big hot tag at the end, come back, and then it would cost him. That's not what happened. Boogs immediately rolled over to the corner, didn't even walk to the corner, and tagged in Nakamura. Nakamura came in and was, to be honest, he had a little bit of fire, but nothing really came of it. He got super kicked and splashed, and he kicked out, and then he, for some reason, was in the corner, and one of the Usos had his hair, and then he got super kicked again and hit with the 1D, which is a version of the Dudley Boys' 3D, and pinned. So the Usos retain. It went like 6 minutes. I assume it probably would have been double that with Boogs being in the match. It's hard to rate because the injury obviously hampered it dramatically, but it was nothing really, and it wouldn't have been my choice to open Mania. There are a few things on this show that I will highlight as better options for opening the show, and I will talk about them when we get to them. But I'm going to say as an opener, yes, the injury's there, but I'm going to give it 2 stars. It wasn't like it was brilliant before the injury anyway. Just kind of something you would see on Raw or SmackDown, so 2 stars. Rick Boogs, I hope he comes back. I really do. Fingers crossed for the guy. There's been a lot of injuries recently in WWE and AEW, and I fingers crossed for him. Obviously, fingers crossed because he is he's on the main roster and he's in a fairly good spot with Nakamura. So, and he's given Nakamura something new. And frankly, the entrance was the best part of the whole package. Really, the best part of the whole match segment thing was the entrance. So, Boogs, I hope he comes back. Anyway, the second match, so 2 stars to the opener. Second match on the show, we had Happy Corbin versus Drew McIntyre. The build for this has been bad. Is probably the nicest I can be. I'm not interested. For so many years, Baron Corbin. I don't know what to say about Baron Corbin. He's not really changed in the 8 years I've been watching him wrestle. Since 2014 in NXT. I think his first takeover match in NXT was Bull Dempsey or Mojo Rawley, maybe. No, Bull Dempsey. And he hasn't really changed since then. He's tall, and that's about it. And now he's got a gimmick where he's Happy Corbin. It's all a bit too silly for me, and it doesn't really do it for me. McIntyre, I have no idea what he's doing in this feud. This feud should have ended months ago. The fact that this is one of the longest running stories on the product is bizarre. All the way back to how long is this? January, day 1. So yeah, this is far too long. And the match though, to be fair, it was better than I expected. McIntyre's a good worker, and Corbin is there. So McIntyre did some belly to bellies. He did a big one on the outside to Madcap Moss, and Corbin hit a deep 6, and he went for that big clothesline outside the ring. And I think that's when McIntyre did the belly to belly to Corbin. But Corbin eventually hit the end of days and 1, 2. McIntyre kicked out, and that maybe bumps up my grade a little bit because big deal. Someone kicks out the end of days. No one has ever kicked out the end of days, apparently. I don't want to fact check that, but it doesn't seem like a finish that people have kicked out of. So, big deal. And then he picked Drew up, and Drew hit him with a future shock, hit him with a claymore, and pinned him. And 2 3/4 stars. This was decent. I thought this would be average to below average. So for it to be okay, 2 3/4 stars is what I usually class as decent on my star rating scale. Yeah, this was okay. I wasn't blown away by the opening of WrestleMania so far. There was nothing that made me feel like I was going to be watching or really wanted to watch anymore. But yeah, this was okay. And after the matchup, he got his sword called Angela, and I'm going to jump past the fact that Baron Corbin made a joke about McIntyre's dead mother, because it was tacky and bad. And I'm going to say that what happened next was Madcap Moss was on the ropes, and McIntyre swung the sword, and Madcap Moss moved, and he cut down the top 2 ropes. And yeah, the top 2 ropes basically just split. So McIntyre tried to kill Madcap Moss live on TV. I don't know if that would be a good thing for McIntyre's career, but what is good for McIntyre's career is that he can move on from this match. And, for easy WrestleMania payday for Drew, easy win. I assume Drew will be in, title picture for whatever happens with the titles tonight. But yeah, 2 3/4 stars. This was okay. This was better than I thought it would be. Then we had the 3rd match on the show, our first celebrity inclusion this year in WrestleMania. We have Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. The Mysterios teaming for the first time at WrestleMania to take on the team of The Miz and Logan Paul. Right, there's a lot to kind of unpack here. The Mysterios are great. Well, Rey is one of my favourites of all time. He's great. And Dominic is good enough when he needs to be. And on this match, to be fair, he was particularly good. And on the other side, we have The Miz, who I've never been a fan of. I don't, there's times and there's matches where he has matches like Bryan and Ziggler that he's had in these classics are like Mercy 2016 with Ziggler and with Bryan at SummerSlam 2018 and with Bryan at Night of Champions 2010 even. There are classics that he has, and I just don't know how that Miz is this Miz. Like, the Miz is so boring as a wrestler. And then there's Logan Paul. Logan Paul's first match, one of the least likable people on the show, one of the least liked people on the show. I don't know if there's anyone on the show who got more boos than Logan Paul, especially at a specific moment that I'll get to. But Logan Paul, in this match, in all honesty, in his first match, was pretty good. Like, he didn't really look out of place. He was there for everything he needed to. I don't think he botched anything, to be honest. Well, let me go through the match. So the Mysterios were in control first, and then The Miz tagged in Logan Paul, and Logan Paul came in. He did some leapfrogs. Cool. He's an athletic guy. You may as well use it. He did some leapfrogs and then did the splits and then got kicked in the head by Rey Mysterio, and then eventually Dominic came in and Paul and The Miz took over again. Logan Paul did a running power slam, which was pretty cool. They did the it kicks to Dominic, and Logan Paul's kicks weren't brilliant, but it was probably the worst thing he did all match. He kept kind of coming in and coming in behind the referee's back. The guy was a good heel. And at one point, he had Rey Mysterio, and he hit him with a vertical suplex. Fucking just lobbed poor Rey Mysterio in this suplex as well. It was a very good suplex. And he swiveled the hips and got up, and the crowd booed. This was... Look, I don't have to like Logan Paul to appreciate this. The boos this man got for daring to pay homage to Eddie Guerrero in Texas. They booed him doing the first suplex. They booed him doing the second suplex. They booed him doing the third suplex. And then when he got up and he did the Eddie Guerrero shimmy and he went to the top rope and he had a frog splash, they booed that. And they cheered when Rey Mysterio kicked out. And then, basically, the Mysterios took over again and Logan Paul... Rey did, some cool head scissor DDTs and stuff to The Miz and Hurricane Ranas and the usual Rey Mysterio great stuff, because Rey Mysterio is one of the greatest of all time, and I'll always say this. Just so underrated, Rey Mysterio. I love him as someone who grew up watching Rey Mysterio. Kind of that period of him winning the world title. I know it was a terrible reign, and I know retrospectively we all look back on it with not brilliantly fond memories. I'm someone who looks back on it, I look back on it and think it's terrible, but at the same time I was there and I enjoyed him being a champion, enjoyed him beating JBL, and enjoyed him winning the world title, and it's one of my favourite memories, even though, the Mania match was 9 minutes and stuff. But yeah, he's great, and in this match, Rey Mysterio was very good. In the end, Logan Paul runs in the ring, he gets double drop toe holded by both Mysterios. They hit a double 619, but they do not notice The Miz making a blind tag. Ray goes up top, hits a frog splash on Logan. Dom hits a frog splash on... Dom hits a frog splash, then Ray hits a frog splash, and then The Miz comes in and he power slams Dominic Mysterio onto Ray as Ray is covering Logan Paul, and then picks up Ray, hits him with a skull-crushing finale. 1, 2, 3. Miz and Logan Paul win. This was, again, honestly, better than it had any right to be. The celebrity performances at Mania the past few years with Bad Bunny and Rousey even have been really good. So there is an upturn in the quality of several celebrity performances at WrestleMania. 3.25 stars. The star of the match to me was Ray, but Logan Paul was probably, the second best working guy in the match. He didn't really look out of place, and after the match up, they celebrated. They got booed, obviously, naturally, and then the Miz hit Logan Paul with a skull-crushing finale. He gave him like an angry face, looked at him angrily, and then gave him the skull-crushing finale, and got cheered for it. So, I don't know if that means they're going to have something on TV, and they're going to turn Logan Paul face. That's probably not the right idea. That seems very tone-deaf from WWE to do that, but that's what they want to do. I'm not in charge. So yeah, 3.25 stars. This was better than I had any right to do, frankly. And then we had, before the fourth match, we had a little interlude where Steph came out and she said, "Thanks you all for coming." And she introduced the new era with Gable Steveson, the Tokyo Olympic gold medal winner. Gable Steveson will be good, I believe, because Kurt Angle was an Olympic gold medalist and he was brilliant. So I can't see why Gable Steveson won't be good. I mean, he doesn't have anything yet, obviously, because we haven't seen anything, but he's already been drafted, which I find a bit silly. But yeah, this was kind of nothing. This was just to get Gable Steveson on the show. Maybe this was to kill time after the Boogs thing. Maybe it was. Fourth match on the show, and we move into Full Gear period. Fourth match on the show, the Raw Women's Championship. Oh, by the way, the Miz Logan Paul match, I thought could have started the show off as the first match. So there's one match I probably thought could have been the opener. Fourth match on the show was the Raw Women's Championship matchup as Bianca Belair challenges Becky Lynch. This build has been really good, frankly. Bianca and Becky have been great in this feud. There is genuine, it feels like there's genuine animosity between them, and the match on paper looks great. This is also a match I thought could have kicked off the show, just to separate both women's title matches across the show. And so Becky and Bianca had good entrances. Becky came out on an SUV first, which was a bit annoying, but when I saw Bianca's entrance, I understood why Becky came out first. Becky was supposed to watch it. Becky came out in an SUV as big-time Bex. And then Bianca's entrance was really good, best entrance of the show. A marching band played her out to the ring, basically, like saxophones and trumpets. It was great. It was really, really cool. And the match started, and it was a fantastic match. This is probably Becky Lynch's best singles match since her return last August. It was a classic Mania women's matchup, meaning that Bianca Belair 2 years in a row has had classic women's matches. Started off, I mean, I should get the negatives out of the way first. It started off a bit fast, a bit rushed almost, and it made me feel a bit like I did when I watched the Baszler-Lynch match back at 36. That match only went 9 minutes, and it felt like it was going to go 9 minutes from the first bell. When I saw Becky hitting a manhandle slam after 20 seconds, where they kind of exchanged finishers, and it kind of looked like the usual thing where you exchange finishers and then you have a standoff and there's an ovation. It wasn't that, because Becky actually hit a finish, got a cover, and Bianca kicked out. And that worried me, but the matchup had a beautiful amount of time, and Becky controlled Bianca. She took her to the outside of the ring. Bianca fought back a little bit, and then Becky pushed her into the ring steps to get some separation. Bianca went into the ring steps. Becky worked Bianca over, obviously using her hair outside the ring, which was really clever. Bianca eventually fought back into the ring. She hit a spine buster. She did the kind of flip off the ropes moonsault thing. I believe after hitting that's the said spine buster. Becky hit a bunch of exploders in the ring. She hit one into the barricade on the outside. This was just a great back and forth matchup. Bianca did a second rope 450 splash, which was awesome. Kept going for the KOD. Becky did a leg drop to Bianca while she was on the top rope. And then Bianca just fell on Becky. There were a few bits as well, negatives out of the way. The beginning felt a bit rushed, and there was a bit of sloppiness. And the sloppiness in the beginning didn't shine through towards the end. So the end sequence was brilliant. Before I get there, I do want to say that there was also Bianca hitting the KOD to the outside of the ring, which was pretty brilliant. There was a great little segment where Bianca put the armbar on the disarmer on Becky. Bianca got sent into the second turnbuckle at one point as well. This was just a great matchup. Bianca threw Becky out of the ring with a KOD, which was awesome. And then, Becky also did a moonsault, which I don't think I've ever seen Becky do before. Which obviously got a 2 count quite early on as well. So yeah, Bianca hit the KOD to the outside. She rolled Becky in, but Becky rolled over to the other side of the ring. As Bianca's getting out that side, Becky pulls her into the post, gives her a manhandle slam on the bottom steps, the heavy steps, rolls her in the ring. Bianca kicks out. Becky brings Bianca up to the middle rope to hit a second rope manhandle slam. Bianca does a backflip out of it. Becky gets down, goes for the manhandle slam, goes for I think she went for a clothesline actually. Bianca ends up behind her, picks her up, hits a big jumping KOD. 1, 2, 3. This was a fantastic matchup. Really, really great. The actual moves here were better than the ones last year with Sasha and Bianca. The spectacle of last year's match may make it my favourite, but this was certainly, I would say, a better match. There was a bit more drama to it. In the way that, Becky, after hitting that manhandle, I thought she was just going to win, and I thought that would be the finish. A good couple of near falls, really great crowd, a crowd that wanted Bianca to win as well. The crowd loved Bianca. The crowd were fantastic all night. This match, if it had opened the show, would have been one of the best openers in Mania history. I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. This was an excellent opener. An excellent women's title matchup. Bianca Belair wins the Raw Women's Championship. She's now held both Women's Championships, and she's had 2 great matches at consecutive Manias. I love her. I think she's fantastic. I've seen that they've released a pop vinyl of her that I'm going to pre-order at some point, because I think she's awesome. From watching Bianca back in 2018, when she started, and kind of seeing where she's come in having 2 brilliant Mania matches back-to-back years, with great workers in Sasha and Becky, but she more than held up her end of a bargain. And Becky Lynch in this match was brilliant, really, really great too. Becky's been a good heel, and this was the time to pay off that. This was a comeuppance time for Becky, and to pay off that 20-second match they had at SummerSlam, which I did complain a lot about because I really loved Bianca's win at Mania, and that match really annoyed me. I go watch my SummerSlam review if you want to hear about how much that 20-second match annoyed me. But this here is a payoff to that. I have to do nothing but applaud. So well done, WWE. You got me. 4.5 stars. Excellent, excellent match. And after this match, we moved into another match that I thought could be the opener. Seth Rollins versus his mystery opponent. If the mystery opponent had been a genuine mystery, this would have been one of the best Mania moments of all time. When the Hardy Boys came back at 33 for the ladder match, I would say that there was a 50-50 chance of the Hardy Boys returning. This match, it was 99% sure, everyone was 99% sure who the mystery opponent was going to be. And it didn't diminish the moment a lot, but I'll talk about my process going through it. So Seth comes out, he's got a singing choir. By the way, the build for this has just been Seth wanting matches and not being able to beat Styles and get Edge, or not being able to beat Owens so he can't host the KO show. So basically, he just goes up to Vince just says, if you wanted a match, I'll give you a match, but I'm going to pick your opponent. And, Seth's done well building this matchup himself. It's not like it's a marquee match or anything. The actual moment will be marquee, and it'll be one of the great moments in recent memory, but let's get on to the match anyway. So Seth comes out, he's sung down to the ring by a choir, and it was cool. And then he waits in the ring, and the pyro goes off, and the lights go out, and everybody's chanting Cody. And Then you hear wrestling has more than one royal family, and Kingdom by Downstate plays, and up on an elevator comes Cody with his horrible neck tattoo, and he looks down the ramp, and they announce and it says American Nightmare, and they've got the logo, and they announce that, you know, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and the announcers can't believe it's Cody Rhodes. That moment of the lights going out, the moment of me hearing the opening to Kingdom, the wrestling has more than one royal family. Oh my god, like I was a child again. Like, genuinely one of my favourite moments in wrestling. Like, there have been very few things the past few years that could touch it. Obviously, I reviewed Full Gear last November. There were a few moments on that show, like Hangman winning the world title. But God, like, it was so odd, because this is a big deal. Cody going to WWE. It's the first defection from AEW to WWE. It's kind of and it's not just like any defection. It's Mr. AEW. It's one of the guys who founded it. So it is a massive deal, and on a big stage here, Cody and Seth had to have like a high quality matchup for Cody to kind of get over, because the notion was, I think there was probably a small notion that Cody, if he comes back, what if he doesn't get a big reaction? What if nobody cares about him? My God, this crowd cared about Cody Rhodes. There was probably one star on this whole show more over than Cody Rhodes, and it was Steve Austin in his hometown, and it's Steve Austin. Like, honestly, he was one of the stars of the show, and they had a fantastic matchup. This could have kicked off the show, and it maybe should have kicked off the show. They started slowly, and Cody did the little Stardust cartwheel and the little pose, and it was him shedding his skin, said Corey Graves, and it was fantastic. And then they had just a classic old school wrestling match. I believe Brian Alvarez described it as a Triple H style wrestling matchup. I would describe it as a WWE big match style, and it's okay to do that in these sorts of matches. They did a great spot early on where Cody and Seth were trading suplex attempts in the ring, and Cody eventually just suplexed Seth out of the ring, and they both just tumbled to the floor, and that looked like it sucked. And then Cody pulled him into the ring post, and Seth took over a little bit of control, and there was a great suicide dive by Cody out of the ring, knocked Seth over the table, and Cody went for a disaster kick on the outside of the ring. Seth caught him just about and powered him up and buckle bombed him into the corner of the barricade, lobbed him in the ring, hit a springboard knee, hit a super kick. That couldn't keep Cody down. Cody hit a crossroads, which I found odd. Well, when he first hit the crossroads and Seth freaking Rollins kicked out of it, I was like, oh no, they've already kicked out of his finish. What are they going to do for a finish? But they didn't finish, but we'll talk about it in a minute. Cody got hit the Cody Cutter. He hit a big tiger bomb, like a big tiger bomb, and then hit a Cody Cutter, which was great. This was AEW Cody Rhodes. His moves were AEW Cody Rhodes. His style was AEW Cody Rhodes. His presentation, his music, everything was AEW Cody Rhodes. And it's honestly, the guy felt like a star because he is a star. Seth hit a pedigree for a near fall. Seth did this amazing reverse suplex off the top rope. Picked Cody up again, hit like a curtain call, which was Goldust's old finisher. Basically just an elevated reverse DDT for a 2 count. But in the end, brilliant little finish. Steph kept going for the stomp, and it eventually cost him. He went for the stomp. Cody just grabbed him, hit a crossroads, got him up, hit a second crossroads. Was going to do a third one, but decided to let Seth go. Hit the old Dusty Rhodes jabs, the bionic elbow. Picked him up again. Hit a third crossroads, technically the fourth of the match. 1, 2, 3. He also did a moonsault earlier in the match that was a bit sloppy, and it was probably the biggest piece of sloppiness in the whole match. And, but outside of that, wins with the crossroads, big deal. Cody Rhodes, crowd loved him, kisses the mat. Big welcome back for Cody. This was excellent. This was probably a classic, really. Like, I loved this a lot, and I'm going to give it 4.25 stars. I think the women's match was probably a better match. This, as a moment, this was like 5 stars. Like, easily one of the best Mania moments in recent memory. Just for a big return. Everybody knew it was going to happen, but a big return. I mean, sometimes, what is it I said about Hangman Page? It's some stories that are predictable are fine, because they're predictable for a reason, because they're great. And it was predictable Cody was going to come back. It was predictable how they would book the match and who would win and stuff. But it's how you get there. It's the journey there. Cody coming out was brilliant. The rise was brilliant. The music, the presentation, the match, hitting all the big finishers, kicking out of a pedigree and big Seth moves. It was all brilliant. And the segment was 5 stars. I'm going to give the match 4.25. It was great. Really was great. Preferred the women's match a little bit more. But yeah, great stuff. Cody is back. I am very excited to see what they do with Cody Rhodes. 4.25 stars. A great, great, great match. And at this point, Mania was cooking. Like, absolutely cooking on gas. There was, contender at this point. 2 straight, really high-quality matches. Could probably rival any of the matches from last year's show. So we were cooking, and then after that match, we had the Hall of Famers. I did watch the Hall of Fame. I watched it on Saturday morning. The Hall of Fame ceremony was brilliant. I thought Queen Sharmel's speech was really good. The Steiners went on a bit. It was good, but it went on a bit. The Leon White, the Vader family speech was okay. And then the Shad Gaspard stuff, JTG coming out and doing the gestures with Shad Gaspard's son, Araya. Really touching stuff. His mother did a wonderful speech. Shad's a hero chants. It was all wonderful. Wonderful. Just wonderful. It took them a year to do it. They really should have done it last year. But, a big deal. Shad getting that award, and, maybe one day Crime Time will go in the Hall of Fame. You never know. I kind of wish maybe that JTG had got something to say during it, but the award wasn't for him. It was for Shad and Shad's family, so I understand why he didn't. And then The Undertaker, one of the ones I grew up watching, again, not in the 90s, obviously, but I grew up watching 2000s Undertaker. I grew up watching The Phenom. I grew up watching his matches with Shawn Michaels and Triple H and Punk, and I grew up watching him lose the streak, and I grew up watching him win world titles at Mania 23, at Mania 24, beating CM Punk in a Hell in a Cell match that was a bit ridiculous. So seeing him go was tragic. He is a legend. He's probably he's top 5 for the company's greatest superstars just because of longevity. Like, Austin is the one, but he only had a very short period in the company. Undertaker is the guy, the consistent main eventer, never even touched the mid-card. Just a great night at the Hall of Fame. So seeing them all come out on stage, never say never again. We'll see, but I don't know if I need another Undertaker match. And then we moved into the 6th match on the show, which was the SmackDown Women's Title matchup, Charlotte and Ronda. The build for this has been a bit iffy. Charlotte's been getting a lot over Ronda. Ronda has lost a lot of lead, kind of. How can I put this? The invincibility that she had when she was in the company in 2018 and 2019. She's been shown to be a bit weak, and the matchup they had was pretty good. It wasn't nowhere as close as the Raw Women's title matchup, but these are both very good at what they do, and they have some good stuff. They traded a lot of submissions, armbar attempts. There was a few really good moments, like Ronda escaping the figure 8, which no one's ever done, turning it over, and then them both ending up out the ring. Ronda hit Piper's Pit for a near fall, but Charlotte got her leg on the ropes, which Ronda was angry about, and then she got hit with a natural selection for a near fall. There was a great spot where Charlotte put Ronda in the Tree of Woe and went up top, I assume, for a double stomp, and Ronda just rose up and forearmed her on the top, and that was great. Ronda hit some good punches and knees and stuff. A really good knee, actually, out of nowhere. Charlotte went for the moonsault and the Andrade moonsault, where he does a moonsault, misses, and then does another moonsault, but missed it. and that was a bit sloppy. There was a bit more sloppiness in this match than the Raw Women's Championship one, and there's a few parts of this matchup that didn't really gel brilliantly with me. In the end, Ronda had Charlotte in the referee got knocked out. Charles Robinson, Little Nate, got knocked out. Why does he always manage to referee Charlotte matches? He got knocked out, and Ronda had a clear submission on Charlotte. Charlotte was tapping, and Ronda got up, woke up Little Nate, got booted in the face, which she'd taken big boots earlier in the match. So she got booted in the face and pinned, and it was a bit anticlimactic. As soon as it finished, I was like, "That's it!" Like, what? I thought someone was going to come out because Ronda had technically won the match twice. She'd run it when Charlotte's leg was on the ropes because the referee still counted 3, and she'd won it visually, whereas the referee in that case didn't see it. So, bit odd. Ronda losing, I didn't even fathom. So I guess you need one of those, especially when this show was fairly predictable. Was it? Bianca probably could have lost to Becky, and maybe the SmackDown tag titles could have changed hands, but McIntyre was never going to lose. I had the Mysterios to beat Logan Paul and Miz, so maybe the show wasn't that predictable. Main event was going to be though. But yeah, this was a pretty good match. There's parts of it I quite liked. There's a lot of sloppiness, but as far as anywhere close to their previous match that they had 3 years ago, nearly 4 years ago, at Survivor Series, that match I really loved. Go watch my 2018 Survivor Series review of Ronda and Charlotte, because their match on that show was awesome, because it was just spontaneous, and it just looked like a fight, it looked like a shoot almost. It just wasn't even close. I'm going to give it 3.25 stars. Pretty good still. We've got a bit of consistency on the show now. So, pretty good, though. Pretty good match. Charlotte winning was just a bit odd, and the finish hurt it a bit, I think. And then we moved into kind of the final segment of the show, the KO show. The first time in a while, or ever, that Mania has been main evented by anything other than a match. I can't think of a Mania in recent memory that has been main evented by a segment. And basically, the segment was that KO, we'll get to what happened, but KO came out, got booed. Basically, the storyline here is KO is a dick, and he hates Texas, and he hates Austin, and he hates anything from Texas. So it's easy heat, but it's heat. And KO is a good heel, and he's been needing to be a heel, kind of like. I mean, it's a bit silly, but I don't mind it. He's good at his role. So he came out and he trashed Texas, and then he said, "Oh, I've got more to say." And then Austin's glass shattered, and the crowd went fucking ballistic. Pardon the swearing. Biggest star on the show. It kind of shows how the company has done for a decade or 2 decades if the biggest star on the show is someone whose last match was in 2003. Austin is, one of the biggest stars in wrestling history, to be fair, so I do get it. Austin came out on Man United shirt, by the way. I think I've already said that. Austin came out and he sat in a chair and he teased hitting Owens, but Owens said, "Look, sit down." He destroyed Owens' set. He threw out the KO posters in the stands. And KO said, look, Steve, he said, "I haven't brought you out here to talk. I want to challenge you to a match, a no-holds-barred match." And Austin said, "Get a referee down here." And so they had a match. So the main event of Mania actually wasn't going to be a talking segment. It was going to be a match. So for months we heard that Austin was going to be wrestling at the show. And with this kind of thing, it seemed like he wouldn't be. So this was a nice surprise. Although I would say, if this was the plan all along, and Austin was going to go on the KO show and they were going to say, "Look, let's have a match," and have it like a premature, an ad-libbed match, then why did they not do the KO show on Raw and just say, "We'll have the match at Mania," give people a week's anticipation of Austin having his final match in the main event of Mania in his hometown, or in Dallas at least. So I don't know why they didn't do that. That would have been a great idea. They could have sold more tickets, more than 77,899. Well, probably could have sold. I assume that's not a real number. So they had a match, and my assumption was this match would go. It was a no holds barred match. That's what Owens asked for. So my assumption was Owens would go for a clothesline. Steve would give him a stunner and pin him, and that's not what happened. They got 15 minutes. Well, near enough. They got near enough quarter of an hour. And if you told me before yesterday, Austin's going to go quarter of an hour on Mania, I would have said not on his life should he go a quarter of an hour on Mania. If you told me Austin's going to go a quarter of an hour and take bumps on Mania, I would say no, not on your life. And if you told me Austin was going to take bumps on cement and on the stage at Mania, I would say, what planet are you on? And all that happened, frankly, Austin and Owens had a 15-minute, I think it was more like 14, but a 14-minute no-holds-barred match, and it was, frankly, not even that different from what you would normally see. They obviously did striking in the ring, and then Austin stomped a mud hole in him in one corner, stomped a mud hole in him in another corner, and then he threw Owens out the ring, and he went out the ring with Owens, and he went to whip him into the barricade, and Owens countered, and he whipped Austin in the barricade, and then Austin gave him a clothesline, and then Owens took a great flip bump for it, but Owens then threw Austin into the post and took control. He hit Austin with with one of the stands that his KO posters were on, and then started to give him punches on the ground. He put up a table, and then he went to throw Austin through it. Austin countered, sent Owens through it, and then Austin sent him into the crowd, and they teased the suplex in the crowd, and Austin teased doing it, but then Owens gave Austin a suplex on the cement floor, which, when I watched it, I went, what the fuck is going on? Sorry for swearing. And then Owens threw Austin back towards ringside. Austin caught him as he was getting over the barricade and flipped and threw him onto the announce table. Threw him in the ring. Owens tried to get away. And he got on the ATV, which Austin had drove down to the ring on. He got on the ATV. Oh, by the way, throughout this whole match, Austin's just catching Steve Weiser beers. Broken Skull American Lager. That's what it's called. Yeah, Broken Skull American Lager. He keeps just catching beers and just drinking them. It's cool. It's cool. You may as well. It's what gives him energy, I guess. It's like he runs out of battery after one move, so he has to have a drink. It's hilarious. So Owens gets on Austin's ATV, tries to drive away. Austin gets on the back of it, drives up the ramp with him, gives him a suplex on one side of the ramp, goes over to the other side of the ramp, gives him a suplex on the other side of the ramp, throws him down the ramp, gets in the ring. Owens hits him with a stunner out of nowhere, because Austin's been getting more beer, I guess. He hits him with a stunner out of nowhere, goes for the pin, 1, 2, kick out by Austin. That got one of the biggest reactions of the night. Owens, again, one of the biggest heels on the show for using a stunner on Stone Cold. He went out the ring, he got a steel chair, he went to hit Owens with it. Austin ducked. Owens' chair bounced off the ropes, bounced back into his head at the old Kurt Angle spot. Absolutely brilliant. I can't remember who else did it, but I remember seeing someone do it, and then I think Brock gives them a Sherman. But yeah, did the brilliant old Kurt Angle spot. It was brilliant. I loved it. It was just what I needed. Austin hits Owens with a stunner. 1, 2, 3. Stone Cold Steve Austin wins the main event of WrestleMania in 2022 in a 14-minute matchup. And you know what? I absolutely loved it. And look, Austin is before my time, but he's Austin, and everybody loves him. And he did more here than he needed to. He is 58, and he took flat back bumps on cement and on the ramp. And I can't imagine the stage was that comfortable. And he took a stunner in the ring, so he took some bumps. I mean, Owens took more, naturally, but, I have so much respect. And this was much better than it had any right to be again. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. This was just fun for 14 minutes. It was a fun little main event. It sent the fans home wonderfully happy. Owens got another stunner from Austin after the bell. Austin got a microphone and said, "That's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so," and just kept drinking beer. He brought Byron Saxton in the ring, gave him a beer, gave him a stunner. He brought his brother in the ring, gave him a beer, did not give him a stunner, because I assume he's been stunning his brother for years in the garden. And the show went off the air, and it went off the air with a very, very good mood, because if Charlotte and Ronda had gone on last, and that had been the finish still, with Charlotte just winning with a big boot in a bit of a controversial finish, then wouldn't have been the best way to send fans home on night one. So given that night one went very happily for most people, Bianca won, Cody returned, Austin returned, had a match, won the match. You know, it was a very happy show. It makes me think night two is not going to be a very happy show. And I think that happened last year, where obviously Bianca won on night one, Cesaro won on night one. You had some big things happening on night one. And then on night two, Roman retained. Sheamus won the US title. You know, a lot kind of happened on night two last year. More heel wins basically on night two last year, so it makes me think maybe the same thing could happen this year. 3.5 stars main event, and that ended the show on a high. So, WrestleMania 38, night one. What grade am I going to give the show? I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I could give it an 8.5 out of 10, but the Boogs match, which is not his fault, he got injured, and the McIntyre thing was okay, but not spectacular. But everything else from the Logan Paul match onwards, frankly, was either pretty good to brilliant. So you had, the Logan Paul match was a showcase for Logan Paul, and the guy did very, very well. The Bianca Becky match was a classic Mania match, probably the best women's match in Mania history. I think I said last year that the best women's match in Mania history was Sasha and Bianca. But with this match this year, I would say this one. Asuka and Charlotte is also a classic, but this one here is proper drama, and it doesn't have Charlotte winning at the end. No, I love Charlotte. And then you had Cody's return, which was magnificent. I gave that match 4.25 stars. The women, SmackDown women, still had a very good match. Ronda and Charlotte, just the finish put me off. Bit of sloppiness here and there put me off as well. 3.25 stars to that one. And then, the KO show thing, it went on for quite a while, but the matchup we got was so much better than it had any right to be. And seeing Austin again and seeing him as one final time have a match was a lovely, lovely way to send the fans home. So, 8 out of 10, great show. Really, really enjoyed it. Left the show with a big smile on my face, and that is how I should be leaving WrestleMania. I don't think it'll be happening for night two. Basically, I think I will leave night two with a smile on my face. I think there'll be some good matches. I'm looking forward to Pat McAfee and Austin Theory. I think that given 10 minutes, that could be awesome, because Pat McAfee is awesome, and Austin Theory is great. I mean, he's not Adam Cole great, but he's pretty good. Edge and AJ Styles, I don't think the build's been brilliant, but Edge and AJ Styles are pretty good. And then Reigns and Brock could be pretty great. So, the show should be good. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. This has been Rob Russell. Like, comment, subscribe for more. Tell me your thoughts. What did you think to WrestleMania 38 Night 1? What did you think? What was your favourite match on the show? For me, it was the Women's Raw title match, but Cody and Seth was so close. What do you think of Cody Rhodes' return? What do you think to Stone Cold having a match at WrestleMania for the first time in 19 years? What do you think to Boogs' injury? Fingers crossed he comes back better than ever. And what do you think to the debut of Logan Paul? I will be back tomorrow, guys, with WrestleMania 38 Night 2. Thanks for watching. This has been Revolver Russell.